Hi, I'm amateur ornithologist and hawk enthusiast Dan Upton. In most of these mailbag episodes, I'm wearing a Hawkman t-shirt, but the question burns. Who the F is Hawkman? Well, the answer is simple, really. He's actually an archaeologist who... No! He's an Egyptian prince. He's been reincarnated and he's bound forever to his love, the priestess Shara. No! He's a space cop from the planet Thanagar who crash-landed on Earth. Guys! Me! Relax! You're both right. It's fine. Hi everybody, welcome to Hawk Talk. I'm your host Dan Upton. This week we're talking about Hawkman. Whenever people bring up how inaccessible DC continuity is, they always bring up Hawkman, because he's been like four things. Which, okay, he has been, is, was. It's complex. In all his continuity, Hawkman has always been a warrior. His weapons consist of archaic weapons like a sword, shields, his standard mace, the Claw of Horus, and other things. His diet consists of mostly small rodents like voles or other smaller hawk people. In his first appearance in 1941, in which Hawkman was created by Gardner Fox, again Gardner Fox creation, Hawkman was Carter Hall, an archaeologist who ran a museum dedicated specifically to Egyptology, who discovered a metal that allowed him to negate gravity, and also somehow discovered that he was the reincarnation of the Egyptian prince Khufu. Also, the mask was designed by Joe Kubert, and it was the bomb. But then in 1961, when the Silver Age began and DC started to make a comeback and superhero comics came back into vogue, DC redesigned Hawkman again also. When DC redesigned Green Lantern in the late 1950s, they created a completely new character, Hal Jordan. The ring's not magic, now it's alien, now he's a space cop. Americans loved space, and comics changed accordingly. So the new Hawkman was also a space cop from the planet Thanagar. Carter Hall became Qatar Hall. His reincarnated Egyptian bride Shira became Shayra, who was an alien bird hawk warrior woman person. DC invented Earth 2 as the explanation and the original home for all of their Golden Age characters. They decided that Carter Hall, the original Hawkman, lived there. But the hawk shit hit the Hawk fan in 1985 with Crisis on Infinite Earths, because when DC decided to collapse all of their continuity into one world, somebody just forgot that there was more than one Carter Hall, Qatar Hall Hawkman out there, and so now suddenly the same guy is an alien space cop, a reincarnated Egyptian prince, and an archaeologist. So DC decided to reboot Hawkman again and establish firmly that Qatar Hall and Shayra had come to Earth and were definitely alien space cops. But this didn't solve the problem because there had definitely been a Hawkman in earlier continuity as part of the Justice Society and later on the Justice League, so it couldn't have been the same person, so which was it? But despite some other confusing retcons during Zero Hour where they made him into some kind of hawk god and all of the different Hawkmen were all the same person somehow, it didn't solve anything and Hawkman disappeared from comics for a while. To the point where when Grant Morrison tried to bring a new Hawkman to the Justice League of America in 1997, the editorial board was like, nope! And he's like, I have an idea, what if we made him an angel? And the editorial board was like, still no! And so we ended up getting Zor-El, which is cool, but not actually Hawkman. So then Jeff Johns, you know, the guy in charge of the Wonder Woman movie, right? And David S. Goyer, you know, the guy who was in charge of the Dark Knight trilogy aside from Christopher Nolan, they decided to reboot Hawkman again, and this time they made it make sense. They did a thing in Justice Society of America where they rebooted it, and Hawkman was in fact now Carter Hall, but he had a secret identity as Qatar Hall, who was a Thanagarian police space cop. But the Thanagarians had visited Earth thousands of years before and were murdered and had been reincarnated over and over again, and this Qatar Hall was actually a reincarnation of the original Khufu. So it did make it all kind of work out and make sense if you read it. But the retcon lust is strong with DC, so in 2011 the New 52 shows up and Hawkman is now retconned again to Qatar Hall, space cop, but this time he has the nth metal in his actual skin and it gives him a super healing factor and lets him defy gravity, and it's just a natural part of his armor. It's kind of cool, and that whole series with Tony S. Daniel was actually one of the most major and totally underrated parts of the New 52. The current DC Rebirth Hawkman is largely unchanged, although there's a current series right now called The Death of Hawkman, in which Hawkman is, gonna die, and so if history repeats itself, being dead is a real big part of Hawkman's life, and he seems to somehow come back along with Shara. So it's pretty certain that he's going to end up popping back up again in DC, but when that happens, who knows what his story is going to actually be.